As is customary, we will begin with a small chant. This mantra, we call this mantra. Mantra means all of you know this word. Mantra is a well-known Sanskrit word which has come to English language. Sacred formulae which the rishis discovered in the depths of their being through meditation. This mantra which I am going to chant is from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. You know, there are Upanishads called Vedanta, the end of the Vedas. And Shvetashvatara is one of the most poetical of the Upanishads. This mantra is usually chanted by the disciple while saluting the Guru at the time of the sannyasa ceremony or the taking the final monastic vows. And the second mantra I am going to chant is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It's also well known. So we begin with that. Try to calm our minds a little and contemplate the divine for emancipation ultimately, and in the meantime to elevate our minds and hearts to live a noble life. Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedanscha prahinoti tasmai tamhadevam atmabuddhi prakasham mumukshur vai sharanamaham prapadye nishkalam nishkriyam shantam niravadyam niranjanam amritasya param setum dagdhendhanamivanalam Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya aviravirmayedhi rudrayatte dakshinam mukham tena mam pahi nityam Om shanti 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 harihi Om tat sat. Seeking liberation and spiritual illumination, I take refuge in the divine, luminous being who projected Brahma at the beginning of creation, rendered unto him the Vedic knowledge for transmission to humanity, who is taintless, who is beyond speech and mind, and who is the bridge to immortality. He is partless, pure, taintless, and he connects us with the Supreme. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to spiritual illumination, and lead us from death to immortality. Reach us through and through and reveal to us your compassionate face. Om, peace, peace, peace. Harihi Om, that existence. As was just now mentioned, the subject this evening is Shunya and Purna, which are Sanskrit words for zero and infinity. These are two concepts in mathematics, all of you know, which are undefined. You do not know what is a zero, and you do not know what is Purna, but we use them, we feel them in our hearts. The Buddhistic perspective of the Shunya and the Vedanta perspective of the infinity. This is not a philosophical discourse or a spiritual talk, but we are now discussing our daily life. The daily life of sorrow, misery of the most part, with patches of happiness sometimes. Getting up early in the morning, having a wash, cup of tea, rushing to the office, coming back again, going through the same rigmarole day after day, year after year for 40, 50 years. At the end, we feel unfulfilled. What did we do all life? So this is our daily life. There could be some blessed people who feel fulfilled, unfortunately with sense objects. But a time should come to everybody when you wake up and you ask a fundamental question: what is life all about? Where did we come from? Where do we go? You may say that these questions are better not asked. Wish them away, engage yourself in pursuit of happiness of the senses. Or if you are altruistically minded, do good to society. Engage yourself in removing others' sorrow, although you are also yourself in sorrow. At the end, you feel that life is just ebbed away. This is our daily life. Let's face the reality. This was the question which Gautam Buddha asked. All of you know his life. Gautam Buddha, who was Siddhartha in his earlier life, was a prince, as you know. His father was told by an astrologer, either he will end up by becoming a great monk or he would be a great king. Obviously, his father didn't want the former option. So he said, my son should not be exposed to any kind of sorrow. He will be living in the lap of luxury, all the time exposed only to good things of life, the so-called good things of life, sense pleasures. As ill luck would have it for his father, and good luck for humanity, Siddhartha, when he was going along, he encountered 3 scenes. All of you know this, his life story. Moving along, the charioteer was called Chandak. He saw a person who appeared very ill, couldn't walk properly, couldn't see properly, constantly appeared to be tumbling down when he was walking. They was asking his charioteer, Chandak, what is the matter? Why is he not able to walk properly? Why is it he is tottering? He said, sir, he is ill. He is sick. Sickness, what does it mean? That means he is not well. Why is he not well? Sir, it happens when you age. For various reasons, sickness comes to you, illness comes to you, disease overtakes you. Disease, what does that mean? He has never seen disease in his life. Is it a natural phenomenon? Everybody is afflicted with disease? Yes, sir, everybody. Me too? Sir, it could happen to you. My wife? Of course she could be afflicted. My little child? Sir, please don't force me to say it, but he also could be afflicted with the disease. Suddenly a vision opened up. He saw the universality of sorrow. He could see disease is a universal phenomenon which afflicts me, you, everybody in this universe. He himself was not sick. He himself was quite well in body and mind. But when he encountered disease, encountered illness, he could empathize with it and internalize the sorrow of the sick man into himself and felt, I also could participate in this universal sorrow called disease. Moved along. Saw a person who was tottering with a stick. And he appeared to be so funny, not able to walk straight. And some people were helping him to walk. I said, what has happened to him? Why is he not able to walk properly? Sir, he has become old. What does it mean, old? Look at me, I am quite young, I am able to walk properly, I am able to eat and digest. Sir, he can't do it anymore because he is aged. What does that mean? That means that you age. He has never encountered old age. Does it happen to everybody? Yes, sir, everybody has to become old. Look at us, how young we were once upon a time. And we are so proud of our youth. I am very young. And if tell people, Oh, you look much younger than your age. Isn't it? Come on, carry. Everybody feels proud of youth. Youth ebbs away. And you become old. Will I also become old? I said, of course you will become old. My young, handsome wife, she will also become old. My little child, of course, sir, he also will become old. Another vision opened up. Old age is a phenomenon which is an existential problem which everybody has to face. Internalize the whole thing. Again moved along. He saw a person who was not speaking, not moving. He was carried by 4 people. In India, only recently we had the movement by car, automobile. People used to carry a dead body. Because dead body obviously cannot move by itself. 4 people usually carry. Buddha saw 4 people are carrying this. Why is it not moving? What has happened to this man? He is not getting up. He is not waking up. He is not speaking. He is not eating. He is not opening his eyes. Sir, he is dead. Dead? What does it mean? That means he is dead. Life is ebbed out. He can't come back anymore. He can't talk. He can't eat. He cannot walk. And he has to be now cremated or buried. Does it come to everybody? Yes, sir, it comes. Will I also die? Sir, I can't say this to you on your face, but you will also ultimately die. My young wife, she will also die. My young child, sir, how can I say that now, but he also ultimately has to die. Another vision opened up. Disease, old age, death. These 3 existential problems which come to you not because of any particular cause, these come to you just because you have been born. Can you tell me what is the greatest mistake we committed in life? To have been born. I always think, if I were not born, I could have avoided all these problems. Vedanta says we were born only because we chose to be born. We are a bundle of desires unfulfilled, and we need to fulfill these desires through a body. And the moment you are born, you have to become old, you will become sick, and you have to die. So with birth comes all this. Birth, old age, disease, death. In Sanskrit we call it Jara, Marana. Jara is old age, Marana is death, and Vyadhi is sickness. There are 2 words in Sanskrit, Adhi and Vyadhi. Vyadhi is the disease of the body. Adhi is a mental illness. You may be well in the body, but mentally you are so sick. These are called existential problems. Existential problems meaning they are associated with your very existence. Not that they are imposed from somewhere else. The moment you are born, you have to encounter these existential problems. So Buddha saw this is a universal phenomenon of disease, old age and death, which bring you sorrow. Then he asked the question, what is the cause of this sorrow? Can this sorrow be overcome? So Buddha was one of the greatest prophets, religious prophets of all time, who did not give up the world seeking God, who did not seek his own emancipation. He did not find out whether God can be realized, whether God exists, whether there is an Atman within, but he simply saw the world is so full of sorrow. Which one of you will deny that there is so much sorrow in this world, so much misery in this world? He said people are so miserable and so sorrowful. How is it these people can be emancipated from sorrow? What is the cause of this sorrow? He inquired into the cause of this sorrow and found the cause of sorrow is desire. You want to enjoy, you want 100,000 desires you have. And every one of these desires is pushing you to enjoyment. The moment you have a desire and you rush, You want to enjoy this, you want to enjoy that, you want to eat that kind of food, you want to see that kind of movie, you want to have the television. Now we have the menace, what they call the demon of the android. I see when I go to the airports, when I go to the congregations, nobody is talking to anybody. Everybody. Simply you are pulled by it. What a terrible machine which man has made. Because it connects you to so many people and it is interactive. When this is very new in India, once I saw a person was moving in a motorbike. He had a big helmet. He was talking to himself. Yeah, what's that? Ha ha. I thought he had gone mad. A person running my motorbike and talking to himself and laughing. And when he opened the helmet, I saw the ears are plugged with a wire and he was talking over the cell phone. So constantly you're being pulled by that. So many kinds of enjoyment. The WhatsApp, Twitter, blog, Facebook. You want to connect to the entire world through what's called the social media. You have enough and more sorrow in your own life. And you want to universally transmit this sorrow to everybody. Through what is special applications in the Android. So interesting. So human beings, I find, are so funny. And they're satisfied with their Android phone. The whole world is in my palm. I can connect now to everybody. When we were youngish, we didn't have all these devices. Some of the older people will know, not the younger ones. The moment suddenly a sort of misery comes to you, you're unhappy. So we found nobody. If there is somebody, we'll go and cry before that person. If there is nobody, we think about it, slowly think of God or think of something. We read some book and slowly forget about it. Now the moment the sort of sorrow comes to you, you see, I feel so miserable. Transfer to somebody else, that fellow is equally miserable. How can he take your misery? You are pouring your sorrow into a person whose cup of sorrow is full. And it bounces back. You don't get consoled. So keep trying so many people all over the world. So what is the cause of this? Desire. The moment you want to desire, you have desires you have to fulfill, sorrow will not leave you. Buddha discovered this. So the first great truth he discovered, they are called Arya Satta. Arya means noble, Satta means truth. 4 noble truths. The first truth, which is so obvious, but we don't actually realize it, is that there is sorrow. Nobody can contest that there is sorrow, but we don't actually realize that there is sorrow. In the depths of your being, people come and tell us, you Swami, you go on exaggerating things a little too much. Is there nothing else except sorrow? Of course there is sorrow, but patches of happiness, there's so much of goodness. Life goes on with sorrow, some happiness. And we are not intensely unhappy with this. If you take that position, Buddha will say, your time has not come, goodbye. If you believe the sorrow is not a reality which has to be tackled and overcome, you part company with the Buddha at the very beginning. That time has not come. That time will come, unfortunately, when nature will catch you by the throat and give you tight slaps on your cheeks and make you wake up. And an intelligent, educated person wakes up before the shock treatment of nature begins. So you don't have to pass through the same experience. You see somebody else getting treated by nature very rudely, then you realize, oh, this is what is going to happen to you if you go through the same path. Wake up, wake up. An intelligent person, an educated person, a human being is a person who wakes up by seeing the misery of others, the experience of others. So you vicariously go through the experience of somebody else and realize that you need to wake up. The sooner you wake up, the better. When Buddha realized that there is sorrow, the reality of sorrow, then he asked the question, what is the cause of sorrow? And he found sorrow has its roots in desire. It's called Tanha in Pali and Trishna in Sanskrit. Trishna is actually thirst. Swami Vivekananda has a beautiful poem. This thirst for life forever quench. It drags the soul from birth to death, death to birth. We believe in India, in the Sanatana Dharma in Hinduism, that we are reborn. There is a one-birth theory in some religions. This is the birth of all that you have. The one-birth theory has its own advantages because you quickly go through it, that's it. But the disadvantages, you become unfulfilled at the end. Oh, I have so many things to do, you have no time. You're running out of time. Then Hinduism says, don't worry, you have one more birth, one more chance. Million chances you have. This is like when we were young, when we used to watch cricket, a very popular game in India, because we have the British legacy, not so much in America, we have soccer here. Any number of innings you used to play. The first innings, second innings, third innings, you can go on. But you had one birth theory, you have only one innings. You have to finish this. So desire unfulfilled will make you take a new body so that you can begin once again. At the end, at the moment of death, you have so many unfulfilled desires. And then what will you do? Start with a new body, new innings. Come on. Go through that. Some more desires still remaining. Another body. Go on and on. This is called the cycle of birth and death. And the Hindu religion says somehow escape this cycle of birth and death. The entire nation for thousands of years has been aspiring for this emancipation. It's called the samsara chakra, the wheel of samsara, transmigration, go round and round. Shankaracharya has a beautiful poem. Punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, punarapi janani, jathare shayanam, iha samsare, khaludustare, kripaya pare, pahi murare, bhaja govindam, govindam bhaja mudhamate, samprapte sannihite kale, nahi rakshati dukrin karane. He says, you are born, you die, again take a new body, again you die, go round and round and round. How long and how much and how far? We have been born again and again. Although some of you may be Christians, if you believe there is a rebirth and reincarnation, you must have been born several times. Perhaps millions of lives. Suddenly in this life, we say, how long and how far and how much? Enough is enough. That is Vedanta. Vedanta says enough is enough, no more. It's called alam pratyaya in Sanskrit. Alam is enough. When that comes to you, you say, oh Lord, if you believe in God, then go to God and say, oh God, please release me from this chakra, samsara chakra, from the wheel of time, the wheel of causation, and the wheel of birth and death. And a person who releases you from that, who cuts this Gordian knot, as Christ said, and releases you from this bondage, is called Ishvara. Khandana, Bhavabandhana, Jagavandhana. Swami Vivekananda wrote in the famous Artrika hymn, Vesper service, Bhavabandhana, Khandana. The bondage of samsara, he cuts the bondage. So when Buddha realized that the desire is the root of bondage, desire is the root of all misery, then he asked the question, what is the source of this desire? Where is the desire? Find out. Desire inheres in what is called the I. I desire, obviously. Then he said, I is the source. It is the base in which desire inheres. Then he chased the I And he said, where is that I have to find out. When he was chasing the I to discover where the I is located, to his amazement he found the I doesn't exist at all. So look at the amazing discovery. In a very simple language, all of you can inquire. We constantly use this word I. American Philosophical Association once upon a time made a survey, it appears, to find out what is the one word which everybody uses most. Can you guess what it is? I. You constantly use the word I. And in the West, you usually begin by saying I. In the Indian culture, we are more careful. We always use a passive voice. This was done. By whom? I don't know. We don't say, I did that. This was done. The passive voice is more useful. And in Sanskrit, which is the vehicle of Indian culture and thought, passive voice is most often used rather than active voice. So you use the word I. Can any one of you tell me where is the I located in you? I use the word I. In my mind, where is it located? Why did you not come for the lecture? Oh, I had a terrible, I was not well. You are not well? What happened to you? I had a terrible backache. Your back was not well. Why do you say I am not well? You are identifying yourself. The I is identifying with your back. I have a terrible headache. I am not well. The I is identifying with your head. The I is identifying with your body, with your senses, and is identifying sometimes with your mind. Oh, I feel so upset. That fellow, in the presence of everybody, he insulted me. I can't take it anymore. I am so upset. I am not well. Your mind is not well. Why do you say I am not well? The I is identifying with your mind. The I identifies with the intellect. You write a small book, compiling from various sources. Now it's very easy to write books these days. You know how? Copy-paste from Google. You should intelligently copy-paste. If you're unintelligent, you'll be caught for plagiarism. If you intelligently copy-paste and produce a book, you know what will happen? You'll get a doctoral degree. Those of you who have doctoral degrees, please don't take offense. It's a joke. And you write a book compiled by Swami Atmapriyananda from various sources. I tell you, did you see my book? Swami, I read your book, but I was not very impressed. There's nothing new in it. What? What do you know? Don't talk to me anymore. I get terribly angry. I react. Because my I is identifying with my intellect. When the I is identifying with the intellect, when my intellect is challenged, I feel I am being threatened. See what the trick the I is playing. So this is not Vedanta, this is not religion, this is not philosophy, this is not metaphysics, not speculation. This is just looking at your daily life. Every day we go through this experience. All the sorrow that we face is because the I is identifying with various layers of your existence, with your body, with your mind, with your intellect. And constantly it's moving back and forth. If you chase it, it is not there. When you look the other way, it comes back. You know what it is like? Look at a mirror. Make gestures. It will also make a gesture. You smile, it smiles. You move away, it is not there. In physics, we call it a virtual image. Image that you see in the mirror, you see it, but you can't photograph it. If it is there, why can't you photograph? Because it's a virtual image. It's an image which you see, but actually it doesn't exist. It exists as long as you look into the mirror. If you move away, it is not there. So the I is like that. The I pops up. Suddenly, when you look into that, I want to chase that eye, I could catch that. It is not there. It vanishes. It's a kind of a ghost which appears, pops up and vanishes. When Buddha discovered the eye doesn't exist, his entire vision changed. And he came up with a wonderful doctrine called the anatta. Anatta is Pali. In Sanskrit it's called anatma. Here the atma means the ego. There is no I in you. This non-existent ghost called the I is responsible for the entire universe. All your prejudices and bias, your anger, your predilections, your thought, everything is based upon this I. Wars have been fought based upon this I. The ego of a person who is in the top may produce war. Ego of a person who is heading a family can produce problem in the family. Ego of a professor who is doing a class can create so much of peacelessness in the class. The I everywhere. But what is this I? I doesn't exist. So what a strange life we are leading. The I which doesn't exist is responsible for so much of sorrow. You chase it, it is not there. When Buddha discovered this anatta, cause of the sorrow is the desire, and desire inheres in the I. What is the I? It doesn't exist. Then he said, this I can therefore, this desire, this sorrow can be overcome. The third noble truth. The I can be overcome. How? Get rid of desires. Very simple. And chase the I which doesn't exist. And when you blast this non-existent I, the desires also perish along with the I. And he gave a simple formula called the Eightfold Path, Ashtanga Marga, by which this process can be carried through. These are the four noble truths. Sorrow is a cause. Sorrow can be overcome. I give you a formula. What is the formula he gave? Among the Eightfold Path, three very important aspects of this Eightfold Path are Samyak Drishti, right type of vision. Samyak Ajiva, right living. And Samyak Samadhi, right concentration, right meditation. You first of all have to have the right vision. What is the right vision? The right vision is to realize the I doesn't exist. Anatta. So the anatta doctrine is realized in the depths of your being. You find that all that exists within you is Shunya. Non-existence means Shunya. That's, this table exists. When you remove the table, what exists? You say nothing exists. Or you can say the absence of the table exists. In Indian logic, very funny things they have found out. Whether the absence of something is a positive entity or no. Absence is a negative entity. They say, when this chair is here, there is the existence of this chair. When the chair is not there, the non-existence of the table is there. When the non-existence is there, is non-existence positive or negative? Oh, they have debated on that. It's called Indian logic, Nyaya. It's a huge branch. They have developed it for thousands of years. They have debated and debated. India was the richest country in the world once upon a time. People have so much of time to debate and all this. They have no other problems of living. So it's called Nayayikas, logicians, very powerful people. Now the moment you realize there is nothing within you which is positive, and therefore you encounter what is known the Shunya. Shunya is the absence of any substantial, real entity within you. When you encounter the Shunya as the absence of the I, you are catapulted to a new dimension of consciousness. Your consciousness is now living and moving in this world of reality as you perceive it. I say this world is real, so many people are listening to me. I think this is a real world in which I live. After some time I feel tired, go to sleep. I lapse into a world in which I see the same room, I see all of you sitting there, but there is nothing else apart from myself, my thoughts. It's called a dream. We encounter it every day. Is a dream a real world? You will say, oh, it was after all a dream. Suppose you are dreaming all the time and you say it's after all a waking state. It's only a relative concept. From the point of view of the waking state or the dream state is unreal. From the point of view of the dream state, the waking state could be unreal as well. Bertrand Russell, it seems, said once, out of 24 hours in a day, if you dream for 12 hours and are awake for 12 hours, which is real? These are some startling things which the Indian mind has asked. In the West, if you talk about dream beings the same as the waking state, people will come and say, no, this is so real. I see this is real. I feel this. You had the same feeling in the dream. Sometimes in dream it happens, you are given a feast. At the end of the feast, you have dessert. We have in India we call payasam. Payasam means that which is very sweet and with milk and rice pudding. And you're just about to eat that payasam, and in Bengal we have what's called rasagulla. Rasagulla is a ball of very juicy ball, so sweet and so delicious. Just about to eat that, dream breaks. I feel so unhappy. I should have finished that rasagulla and then woke up. In exactly the same way, the waking state also can break. So why do you give overmuch importance to the waking state? Don't be afraid. Vedanta says, don't take the experiences of the waking state to be too real. They are maybe real. Don't give too much importance to them. They come and go, and they are given the same status as dream. So many people have been very critical of Indian philosophical thought for this very purpose. You say the world is but a dream. Oh, I don't accept that. We don't accept it because we are terribly frightened if you equate this with a dream. You have an ego in waking state which says I. What is the ego which is seeing all this in a dream state? You just ask this simple question. Your waking ego is not there in the dream state. And there is another ego which appears, which sees the dream. We just missed the rasagulla and the payasam, unfortunately. And when you're too tired and go to sleep, dreamless sleep, it's called sushupti in Sanskrit. What is the experience you have? Everybody wants to go to sleep, but please don't do it now. Because the function of a speaker is to keep the audience awake. There's a story of a Christian father who used to give Sunday sermons. So boring. He used to put people to sleep. A pious Christian lady used to come, an old woman with a grandson. And then she was so full of reverence for Christ and the Father sermonizing. After a couple of minutes, she used to go to sleep. Then one day the father got irritated. Told the child, wake up your grandma every time she is going to sleep. The child was so innocent. Father, you put her to sleep. Why should I wake her up? When you lapse into deep sleep, what is the experience that you have? We have no experience at all. When you come back, what do you say? Oh, I was so dead tired. I slept well. And I was very happy. I didn't know anything. It's a real experience. See, this is not philosophy. This is just a daily experience. Sukham masvapsam na kinchid avedisham Vedanta. I slept well. I had the experience of great joy and experience of not knowing anything. Not knowing anything is also an experience. Knowing something is an experience in waking state and dream state. But not experiencing anything is an experience. What did you experience? I experienced non-experience. I didn't experience anything. I didn't know anything. Knowledge gives you joy, and not having knowledge also gives you equal joy. That's why in English we finally say, ignorance is bliss. I didn't know anything. It's a great bliss. Most of us is in sorrow because we know a little too much than we should know. Education. Education gives us, bombards us with knowledge. Now the Google has everything that you want to know. So much so now they use the word, Google has become a verb now. You want to know something? Google it. All the knowledge is there just at the fingertips. But it bombards you and makes you so deeply sorrowful. When we had less knowledge, we are quite happy. So ignorance, which gives you bliss, this is the experience in deep sleep. Now, who was the person who was experiencing bliss in deep sleep? Were you there? I was not there. The I was not there at that time. But you come back and talk about the experience as if you had bliss and you didn't know anything. The experience of non-experience and the experience of not knowing, both of them you report on waking up saying, I did not know anything. I joyfully slept. Who is it that is experiencing this? I'll tell you a story, the Vedantic story. There's a great king called Janaka. Although a king, he was a man of illumination. He always used the company of sages and learned from them. He was an illumined soul. Suddenly the king wakes up at dead of night. Oh, save me, save me. Then everybody rushes to him, security guards, what has happened to the king? King wakes up and says, what's happened to me? He dreamt that the enemy is attacking him and then he is throttling his throat and killing him. He woke up, he found it was only a dream. He became like mad. He was constantly only saying two statements. Is that real or is this real? Is that real or is this real? So many people came and said, King, what has happened to you? Is that real or is this real? He became like mad. Psychiatrists were called in the United States of America, you know, for everything you call a psychiatrist. Even people who are sane will go to a psychiatrist so that they can become insane and be treated. And the psychiatrist, of course, has to also, because he has opened a shop and he has to survive. Please don't mind those who are psychiatrists. There is another joke. A person went to a doctor. He said, you're going to that doctor, he is a quack and he'll give you medicine which will kill you. Why did you go to him? Oh, poor fellow, he has opened a big chamber and he has to survive. So I went to him. And what did he do? He prescribed some medicine. Did you purchase? Yes, I did. Why did you purchase them? Oh, this person in the pharmacy, he has opened a shop. He has to survive, so I... Then what did you do? I threw them away. Why? I have to survive. So this king went on asking, is that real or is this real? Is that real or is this real? So many people came in. A great sage called Ashtavakra came in. Ashtavakra is a very great sage in Indian lore. Vakra is bent. And Ashta is 8. It seems he is bent in 8 places. Very uncouth, absolutely not very handsome, and ugly looking. There's a story about him. He was a great illumined sage. He went to the court of Janaka once, and all the people there, including all the sages, laughed or burst out laughing, looking at his figure. He burnt 8 times, so ugly looking. Then he told Janaka, "So I have a question to ask you, king." "What is it?" "Why are you keeping so many cobblers here?" "Why? Because they're looking at only the skin." What does the cobbler do? He constantly deals with only skin, only the leather. This skin is a leather. So Ashtavakra came in and said, "What is the problem with the king?" "Oh, sir, we do not know how to cure him. He's constantly asking only 2 questions. Is that real or is this real? Is that real or is that real? So I will talk to him, don't worry." Then he called the king and said, "King, what is the matter?" Again the same. Is that real or is this real? Is that real or is this real? Then Ashtavakra said, "King, please answer 2 questions of mine. Now, you are being well attended by so many people. People are taking care of you. So much of affection and love they are treating you. Yes. Did all this exist when you are dreaming?" "No, of course no." Second question. When you dreamt that the enemies are attacking you and killing you, did all this exist? Of course no. Third question. Now, when you have so much of affection and care, do you exist? Of course I do. When you dreamt that the enemies were killing you, did you exist? Of course I did. So you are real. So the reality is that in the dream state also you existed. The waking state also the I exist. And deep sleep also I existed, because if I did not exist, I wouldn't come back and say I slept well and was very happy. So there is an I which goes through the 3 states of experience of waking, dream and deep sleep. Is it the same I? So look at, how do you say, how, yes or no? The dream I, which just missed the payasam and the rasgulla, has no contact with the waking I. The waking I apparently does not have any contact with the deep sleep I.
They all know each other.
We do not know whether they know, but the dream I constantly says, "Oh, I missed that rasgulla." So there appears to be 3 I's. But there seems to be some kind of a connection between these 3. Suppose you say it is the same I which is doing all this. Why is it the I is experiencing different things in different states? If the 3 different I's, how are they connected? So again you come to profound questions. See how Vedanta is taking on you by asking very simple, naive questions of a daily experience, coming out very deep, profound answers. You only question your experience. I am not talking philosophy at all. I am not talking philosophy or metaphysics or religion. I am just saying this is your daily experience. When you look at me, when you laugh, when you cry, when in the waking state, which is the I which is operating? And when you dream, which is the I which is predominant? When you go to deep sleep, what is that I? So for convenience, as in mathematics say, I1, I2, I3. Let us put it that way. Or if you are more pragmatic, you can say IW, W for waking, ID, not the identity card, for dreaming, and I, sleep, IS. So IW, ID, IS. 3 I's. Now, these 3 experiences are being correlated and coordinated. I dreamt, I went to deep sleep, I woke up and saw this. You don't say, IW, I experienced all this, ID, I dreamt, IS, I slept. You don't say that. You say, I slept, I dreamt, I woke up and saw all this. You have the experience of the same I. So from that, you could extrapolate and believe, come to a conclusion that there is one I without labels, a super I, which has 3 modes of existence called I1, I2, I3. This is an obvious conclusion. This is not philosophy. This is a conclusion we're forced to because the three I's seem to be coordinated, although appearing different. Are they different? In a sense, yes. Are they different? In a sense, no. That means there should be a super I which manifests as three I's. IW, ID, IS. I1, I2, I3. What is that super I? Does it participate in any experience? No. It coordinates the IW reports this to I, the super I, and the ID reports it to the super I, and IS supports the super I. It keeps all this and simply looks along, doesn't do anything. I'll give you an example. You have a television screen or a movie screen. What is being projected on that as a movie? It's only light. You have some film strips through which light passes. And when the light passes through that, you have all kinds of images coming up. These images are only light. The moment you switch the light off, there is nothing there. Suppose there's a fire in a movie. You get excited. Oh, bring some water, put out the fire. The fire which you see is actually real when you experience it. People cry. People sometimes become so emotional when they watch movies. But the moment the light goes off, there is only a clean white screen. What does the screen do? Screen allows these various film strips to operate on it without itself getting involved in any of these activities. You get that? This is called a witness, sakshi. It simply looks on. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't participate in any of the activities, experiences of either dream state or waking state or in deep sleep state. It just remains. It doesn't participate. It doesn't do anything to it. It is actionless. Nishkalam, nishkriyam, shantam, what I chanted in the beginning. It is tranquil. It is calm. It is motionless. And it is actionless. Tranquil. It just looks on. Doesn't do anything. It's called the eternal witness. Now, the I, 1, 2, 3 which you saw, if there are modes of that I, your real nature should be that I without label and not the I1, 2, 3. Why we suffer is because, Vedanta says, the Vedantic perspective, is because you are identifying with I1, I2, I3. Rather than do that, identify with I without a label. I0. 0 for Shunya. The Buddha will say I did not exist at all. What does it mean? He means I1, I2, I3 really don't exist. Vedanta comes in and says, if they don't exist at all, how is it that we experience these three states and then certify to their reality? There should be some I which is overseeing, watching over a non-participatory, supreme, eternal I, which allows I1, I2, I3 to operate. The Vedanta says that there should be that I, and you are that I. If we inquire into the nature of the I, Buddha found the I doesn't exist. I is a myth. What does it mean? I1, I2, I3 are myths. When Vedanta says I is the only reality, it means the big I, super I, the witness I, what called Sakshi Chaitanya in Sanskrit. Chaitanya is consciousness, Sakshi is just your witnessing. So what is the practice? The practice is constantly identify with the Sakshi Chaitanya. Don't identify with I1, I2, I3 and suffer. Why do we suffer? I identify with I1 in waking state, endlessly suffer. The dream state, I identify with I2. Once again, lots of suffering and sorrow, all kinds of experiences. And I3, I am relatively happier because there is no experience. Now, if you can disengage yourself, disidentify with I1, I2, I3, IW, ID, IS, and lapse into the lap of the super I, which is called the Atman, which is called the reality which is behind all the show, the panoramic world which you see either in the waking state or the dream state. All this have its sanction from the Atman, which is the only reality that you are. So when you realize that supreme reality, disengage yourself and de-identify yourself from I1 to I3, you enjoy eternal bliss. This is a simple formula. You become what is called Purna. Purna means you are full. You are infinite because I1, I2, I3 are fragmented I's, whereas the big I is a full, total, complete, infinite I. Why is it infinite? Because it is eternal. Why is I1, I2, I3 not eternal? Because they are conditioned by space and time. Now this experience which we have, aren't we conditioned by space and time? The space in the library hall was not sufficient, so move over to this hall. This space here is conditioned by these two walls. So space always conditions you, limits you. Time also limits you. 8:30 now. Swami, it's time. Time limits you. So limitation, fragmentation occurs through space and through time. And therefore, the waking experience and the dream experience, which are conditioned heavily by space and time, can't be eternal because of a limitation. That which is eternal has to be beyond space and beyond time, which is what the super I or the big I or the witness I is. And if it is eternal, beyond time and space, it has to be infinite. Why? There is a process of proof in mathematics and science called the reductio ad absurdum. Reducing to an absurdity. If you want to prove a theorem, one way of doing it will be, assume the opposite is true and then find out the consequences. If the consequences lead to a situation which is absurd, then you go back and say, my assumption that the theorem was not true was incorrect, and therefore the theorem is true. This is a well-known procedure in mathematics and science. Let us go through that. If the eternal, which is beyond space and time, were not infinite, what are the consequences? It will be finite. If it is not infinite, it has to be finite. If it is finite, it is conditioned by time and space. And that which is infinite, which is unconditioned by time and space, alone can be eternal. What does eternality mean? That exists in all places, exists at all times. And therefore it is unconditioned by time and space. Therefore that has to be infinite. If it is infinite, it has to be one. Why? Again goes with the same procedure. If it is not one, it has to be two, at least two. What is not one is at least two. It could be many. Let us take with only just two. So infinity 1, infinity 2. Two infinities. Now infinity 1 and infinity 2 will impinge upon each other and both of them become finite. This is Vivekananda's statement. If there are two infinities, each one of them will try to limit the other and both will become finite. Infinity 1 is ever expanding. Infinity 2 is also expanding. Both of them will collide and both of them will remain finite. And therefore, if it is eternal, it has to be infinite. It has to be beyond time and space. If it is beyond time and space and eternal, it has to be infinite. If it is to be infinite, it has to be one. Now, the startling conclusion of Vedanta. If it is one, it has to be me. Because, once again, goes the same procedure. If it is not me, there will be something else apart from me, it becomes two. Therefore, Vedanta says, you are that infinite. It's a simple logical conclusion drawn from your daily experience. It's not speculation. It is not metaphysics. It is not philosophy. It is not religion. It is just a conclusion which you derive by carefully, intelligently, respectfully, gently analyzing your daily experience. So I am that infinite reality. This is called a Mahavakya. Mahavakya is a grand, great statement. Maha is grand, great. Vakya is a statement. Tat Tvamasi. That's the Upadesha, the instruction given by the teacher. You go to your teacher, teacher says, you are that infinite reality. Purna. Never were you ever limited. And immediately the disciple responds by realizing, Aham Brahmasmi. Yes, sir, I am that infinite reality. I am that infinite reality which is never conditioned. Swami Vivekananda said, clouds of happiness and misery pass over me. I am that infinite blue sky. These are clouds which pass over. Don't you feel suffering? Of course I do. But I have nothing to do with them. They are clouds that pass over the sky. Does the sky cry when the clouds pass over it? Oh, a black cloud passed over me. Hundreds of clouds pass. What is that to me? Swami Vivekananda also said, a mosquito was sitting in the horn of a bull. You know mosquitoes? We have plenty of them in India. They constantly keep disturbing you. When you try to meditate, they will come. So the mosquito was sitting in the horn of a bull, biting the bull constantly. And after some time, it felt very guilty. Told the bull, Mr. Bull, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to disturb you. I'll walk away. Oh, you are there. I never saw you. You come and settle down on my horn with the entire family for all life. What can you do to me? This is Vedanta. Hundreds of clouds of happiness and misery will pass over me. Hundreds of experiences will come, good, bad, indifferent. I am just unaffected. I am the azure blue sky, infinite sky. I will end with a story. In Vivekananda's own life. I'm very fond of this incident. It's an incident which happened in Vivekananda's life. Swami Vivekananda is in Paris. There is a celebrity of an actress called Emma Calvé. She was a great celebrity in those days. And as most celebrities usually are, she was extremely unhappy. We sing the celebrities, we jump and cry and clap our hands, but you do not know what a lonely, terrible life these celebrities go through. She was in fact so lonely, so depressed and so frustrated, so unhappy, she thought she will end her life. Somebody said, go and meet Swami Vivekananda, a great Indian yogi. He is at the moment in Paris. She made an appointment and entered into his chamber. Swami Vivekananda was just writing something. He didn't even look up. When this lady entered, even without looking at him, he said, what a terrible atmosphere you have brought with me, my child. Calm down, calm down. She came and sat. Swami Vivekananda just looked into her eye and spoke about some of the innermost secrets of her life which she had not shared with anybody. She was flabbergasted, frightened, confused, started crying. Swami, how could you know all this? Did anybody speak to you about me? Swamiji smiled and said, is it necessary, my child? I can just read you like an open book. Then Swami Vivekananda gave her Vedantic impulse. Don't brood over your secret sorrow. Throw them away and identify yourself with the higher self. You are that infinite self. These sorrows and miseries will come and go. These depressions will come and go. You are that infinite reality. You are Purna. You are full. Nobody can affect you. No experience can shake you. The spiritual impulse of this great teacher went so deep into her, it started transforming her. And she began to realize that her ego was vanishing. Shunya. Her individuality is being... See, when you go away from yourself, you feel frightened. She started crying, Swami, what are you doing to me? You are taking myself away from me. Swamiji always used to make fun, particularly the Westerners. You Westerners are so terribly afraid of you losing your individuality. He used to make fun of them. And he used to say, you are not individuals yet. You will be when you become universal. Then Swami Vivekananda said, you see, a water drop was falling into the ocean, and the drop cried profusely. The ocean said, my child, why are you crying? Oh, I am going to lose my individuality as the drop. Then the ocean smiled and said, my child, you are not going to lose your individuality as the drop. You are regaining your individuality as the ocean. Look at this statement. We are the ocean. You were me. The rays of the sun took you away, and you are coming back to my bosom to join your trillions and billions of brothers and sisters who are drops like you. Come back to my bosom and realize your individuality as that infinite reality, the Purna. This is the Vedantic perspective, and we should strive somehow in this very life to have a feel of this. We may not be great realized souls. Identify yourself constantly with the infinite real nature. Let experiences come and go. In fact, I have a dream, particularly in the West, in USA, if you can start a Vedantic psychotherapy. This is what Swamiji did to Ima Kalve. Very simple. Give a turn to your consciousness and your thinking, saying that you are that infinite. Identify yourself as the infinite. The moment you realize that you are the infinite, you are Purna, you are feeling that you are small, you are stupid, you are still, I'm sorrowful, this man was my enemy, this man insulted me. All these ideas of littleness will simply vanish. You are that vast, infinite reality, which is what we are. Only we have to realize it, for which what is required, Vedanta says, you have heard about this, Shravana, think of this repeatedly. Apply it in your daily life. Next time on, when you go back, when you feel upset, when somebody phones you, they will do immediately. And then pour their sorrow. Say, don't be sorrowful, you are that infinite reality. And sorrow impinges upon you, let sorrow come and go. I am that infinite vast ocean. Mayyananta maham bodho ascharyam jiva vichaya ujjanti ghananti khelanti pravishanti swabhavata. Ashtavakra Samhita, great Advaitic text. I am that infinite ocean in which waves after waves are rising. These waves are the worlds and the jivas. And I am that calm, infinite ocean. Identify yourself. Tell yourself that I am that ocean. Let experiences come and go. The mind which is unhappy, the body which is sorrowful, but I am not affected. You try this out and realize yourself as a Purna, your life will be one of great blessing. May that blessing come to us now, here, not after death. We don't want post-mortem experience. We want an experience now. What is important is not what happens after life, what happens before life. Before we lay down this mortal coil, this idea should percolate into us. Even in infinitesimal form, we can feel these experiences. It's called manana, reflection. Then, when it deepens, it becomes nididhyasana. You actually experience yourself as this higher self. It is not at all difficult. Just an attention to yourself if you are interested in crossing sorrow. If you say, I am happy with sorrow, please go ahead. Be sorrowful all your life. I am not interested in coming with you. So those who are awakened, those who want to end sorrow now, here, identify yourself the higher self. That's the Purna. And stroke or go to the Buddhistic perspective, Shunya, what you think you are experiencing, the I doesn't really exist. So experiencer is unreal, and therefore the experience per se has to be unreal also. So these two perspectives, the Buddhistic as well as the Vedantic, if you can play with them and then move around, life will be a great blessing. Why should we suffer in this life? There is absolutely no meaning in suffering. Suffering can end now. If you know you are Shunya from the point of the ego and you are Purna from the point of view of the Atman. Thank you. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashyate
vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
That is infinite, this too is infinite. When infinity emerges from the infinite, infinite alone remains. Om, peace, peace, peace. May this entire exercise be an offering unto Sri Ramakrishna.